Hello, everyone, and welcome back to. Which one am I going to do? Yeah, I realized I could never really surprise you guys because I put the name of the project on the video, so you will never not know what I'm doing ahead of time. Maybe one day I'll just put video, and then it'll be a complete surprise what it is or something. I don't know, maybe like April Fool's or something. Um, okay, so let's see. Where are we with Tetris? I need to make sure. Let me check for pull requests. I don't think I've seen any emails coming in about any pull requests. So I don't think I have any. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to check. Obviously, I do want to check. I have issues. Okay, let's go through some of the issues. Add touchscreen controls for mobile tablet. Eventually, board needs to be responsive. It kind of is. I think block rotation is off center. Is that really a bug anymore? It kind of does look natural now that it's like not so large. I think what made it really look weird was it's large. I'm still going to leave that one. Implement block versus block collision detection. Finally, we have done that. So I'm going to write let's see, implemented at last or something, right? And then we can close and comment, and that will close the issue. And now I only have 3 issues, so fantastic. We have 3 forks out there. Who's working off a fork? I would love to see people working on the code. Who? Eric 87, awesome. And me? Can't be me. How am I forking my? Oh, that's a merge. Okay, I wish there was like a, hey, these are the people that have your fork. Oh, hey, looks like we got a new one. Awesome. So we will eventually be able to pull that in. That'll be awesome. Cool. Where am I in this process? Okay, so back to the game, right? Close that down for the moment, and just out of habit, it's always good to make sure that you're up to date. I know I'm up to date, but I mean, still. Cool. So let's run it. Let's play the game, I guess, a little. Let's check our responsiveness. We're still going over there. Still a little bit of stuff needs to be done. But what did I want to do today? I actually don't have a plan. So I'm going to sit here and play, and you guys are going to watch because no, I'm kidding. We need what do we need? We need does Tetris have score? I don't know how Tetris is scored. Eventually, we're going to need some sort of scoreboard, point section, that kind of thing. So that's a little bit of front end work that can be done. Hint, hint. Anybody wants to add that, or I can do it. Or we need to add in, I guess, our losing criteria, right? Like the whole game over thing. Maybe let's add that in because that's like the one piece that's really not there, making this completely not playable. So I'm going to close that down, and we're going to come back in here. And so, how are we going to do this? So, what we really need is now a new object to encapsulate all of the other objects. So, I'm going to go with our index.js is kind of a great place for that in a way. But not quite. I think N new block. Well, we do want to remove that since we don't really actually want to press N to get a new block. So that's been kind of removed. Now it's min models index engine. Where's the stuff that sets a new game? Pause. Interval ID. Set interval, clear interval, board blocks. How does that get called? Tick pause equals false, and we'll create a box which is equal to jQuery dot box. Cool. And now we can just do box. It's always good to create little aliases for these, especially if you use them more than once. It will see we're missing board equals new board. You can't do that unless it's an actual var statement. And then var block move counter. Need this stuff to line up again. Okay. Cool. So new. Okay, so this is the new game button. Cool. Awesome. So now what I want to do is okay, so we're going to create a new object called game. Sorry, lowercase. Game.js. Remove that, and so we're going to do var game equals function, and we're going to pass in a board, right? Because what I want to do is basically when you click the new button, you create a new game, which then creates a new board, and then that creates a new whatever, right? So things should kind of cascade down like that, I think, in my opinion. And I also would like to try a little bit more customization where I'm pulling in controls. So we'll do var controls equals basically a new object, and we'll have we need a new control, new, and that will be a jQuery object of some sort. New equals well, no, we can just do controls. So var controls equals controls. Well, no, we don't. Var control. This dot controls, right? Okay, but we're not doing this. We never do this. Always do self. This var self equals this. Cool. So now we have controls. Self dot controls equals controls. Awesome. All right, so now we can like call new game and pass a bunch of controls in. And what I'm trying to shape with this is engine. The concept of these. Also the engine. So we'll also want to pull in the engine. Equals a new engine, which takes. I don't actually have engine wrapped up as an object. Okay, so it's time to do that. Var engine equals function and engine. Okay, and so basically what I'd like to do is remove all this stuff out. So like where there's this new, when we click the new button and something happens, I would rather have a function that describes what happens. So I need like a start and a pause and a reset or something like that. So we're going to do that. We're going to do exactly that. So var self equals this, and then I'm going to do self dot start equals a function, and that's going to be whatever we call when we actually start the game. And then we need self.pause equals a function. And then I also need self.reset, I think is what I'm going to call it for now, function. Okay. And so basically this new, when we click on new, I guess we are creating a new one. Well, do we really need start, or can we just say reset? Because reset, or does reset clear everything out and then start begins at a new? Or, well, there's definitely pause and resume. We probably won't need a reset, actually, because if we just, I think what I want to do is if we call start again, it clears everything out and starts everything over again. Okay. So, engine, and so what am I going to be passing into these things? So, how do we start a game? Well, I guess this is how we start a game now. Here's our tick function, which, oh, I remember why that's been kind of encapsulated in here. But we'll soon replace that with else stuff, other stuff. Okay, so so I know we still need our tick, right? And so I'm going to pull this stuff back into the engine and call it tick. And take that off. And then I know we need clear, and we need the auto block move. Pull that up. Place that back in here. Okay, and then I know we need okay, so this is really what starts our game, is this ticking stuff, essentially. Well, that begins the whole process, and it also resumes. And then when we pause, we clear the interval. So we will copy that, move that up to here. So that's going to be our pause. And now board.blocks, well, really we're just going to create a new board. So if they start a new game, then we're going to create a new board. So well, I could say board equals new board, and then I need to pass in the box and the rows and the columns, or I could leave that to the other piece. And I think I'm going to, because I have some tricky ideas for this game. So I'm going to pass in the board. No, I'm going to pass in the board on start. Oh, but no, but I, Okay. How do we do this? Board. Maybe just pass in a reference to board, and not actually create a new board anywhere. So, okay, board. Cool. So now we have a reference to board. So I'm not going to put it on self because now we're starting to deal with some of the, I guess we've already got it here. We want to keep some of this stuff private, and by private I mean that it's not really publicly facing, it's not exposed outside of here. Really all I want, you should be able to call new engine and then engine.start, engine.pause, engine.resume, and that's it. Everything else should kind of work in the background without having to do any of that. Okay. And then the pause. Okay, so this, okay, the engine is definitely, the pause for the engine is really just clearing the interval. That's all. But the pause for block move counter, block move counter, block move counter. Why is that defined down here? Block move counter equals 0. And in the start function, resume, pause, start, block move counter. We'll set it back to 0 when we start a new, a new one, just for good, codemanship. Okay, cool. That's cool. Board.blocks. That's kind of going to be handled inside the board stuff. So I don't think we need that. I don't need this tick. I do need to close the class. Okay. And this stuff still needs to be figured out. So game. So new engine. So then what we do is self.board equals a new board, and that'll pass in the box, right? So well, the game being passed a board? No. Game should be allowed to create the board, but doesn't. It's going to receive UI elements, so it's going to create. So whatever's calling game is going to create the box. So then box goes here, and board. So then we go rows, which were what, 10, and columns were 20. And then we need a new engine, and we pass self.board into the engine. And then we're going to need some functions up here. So basically this is going to be game start. Start. Start equals a function. And actually game.start is going to create the new board and the new engine. So we'll do self.board equal, well, self.board and self.engine. So we're just defining them. And then down here we actually implement them. Okay. Cool. So self.box equals the box that gets passed in. So self box. All right, it's coming together. So when we start a game, cool. Then we need to pause a game. Oh, sorry. We also need to self engine start. Cool. Then when we pause a game, self pause is a function and we want to call self engine pause, and then now's where we do the CSS stuff. So let's go back over to the engine file and grab the CSS stuff. So if we're pausing, looks like we want to add class and self.paused equals false. All right. So there's this, but now we can do just self.box. Okay, and then we want to do self.paused equals true. And I think we want to implement the same logic. If paused, if self.paused, then we want to do something else, and then else we want to do this, because this is this is pausing it, and the other one's resuming it. Okay, so we flip back over to engine, and we're going to grab this, go back to game, and self.box, and so we're going to remove, then we're going to go self.engine resume, and self paused equals false. Cool. So now we've moved that start-stop logic all into the front here, and we have separation of concerns. So this is separation of concerns is a very, very, very big topic for objective-oriented programming in back-end languages and higher-end languages, and in Angular specifically. But it is very, very rarely talked about in low-level front-end JavaScript like jQuery or just regular JavaScript. And I want to go ahead and place that in your minds now. So separation of concerns is that certain things should only care about themselves and other things. Like you really shouldn't, your engine shouldn't have to care or know anything about or be dependent or create things in your DOM. Your shape shouldn't care about the engine. Your board shouldn't care about the block. Well, it does need to care about the block, but you know what I mean? Like, certain things don't really need to be mingled and mangled and creating terrible, well, not terrible, but code bases that are so intertwined and spaghetti and confusing. So separation of concerns is for there's plenty of reasons. I'm not going to get into them, like testing, dependency injection, swapping, stuff like that. But even just for a human, for the programmers, code is not meant for computers. I mean, it is, but code is meant for other humans to read it, and incidentally computers. And that's a quote that I got, or what's the word? I paraphrased the quote from John Papa, who I think paraphrased it from someone else. But anyways, so basically what that means is that you need to organize your code in a logical manner so that another developer could come behind you and look at it and it makes sense. And so really there should really only be like one file that's concerned about the DOM and the jQuery stuff itself. The rest of it should just kind of like things should pass through and stuff like that. So there really shouldn't be things like on-click handlers inside of the engine. That should be inside of a different file. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to move things into different files and then get things passed through in the correct order so that we have a really nice separation of concerns, and it all, it really makes sense and it's really logical, and that's what we want. So, box.html is empty, and then board equals new board box. I think here we're just clearing out, I don't know. Okay, so I may have broken a bunch of stuff, but I think we're starting to put some of this together. We don't need paused, we don't need tick. Do we need board? Yes, we need board. So board equals board, and that will save it inside this variable. We don't need this box because that's now not a part of this program's concern, or this file's concern anyways. And I think we're good there, actually. Duplicate declaration. Yeah, kinda, I guess. Okay. Okay, so, well, do I need this even? Can that still pick it up? I think that can still pick it up, right? Yeah, I think so. Okay. So now that we have our game object, we need to tell it to create a new game, and we pass in our box and our controls, and that's where this index.html really comes into play, in my opinion. That's where this stuff happens. Controls. That's right. I wanted to move the controls into the game engine, or the game stuff, right, and pass them in. How was I going to do that? I don't know how I was going to do that. Oh, it was going to be the new button and the... Okay, so what did we have on the page? I've kind of like deleted that stuff into oblivion. We have a new button and a pause button. Okay, so we need to go back to here and let's just write it out. I know this isn't the right place for it, but we're going to do var game equals new game, and we're going to do box and controls. So box. Well, what we should do is var $new equals jQuery new, right? Is it a class, or is it it is an ID? All right, and then we also have what? Pause equals pause, and then we can say game equals new game. We also need the box on here. So $box equals new jQuery dot box. What you can do is you can line these all up nicely down below, and then you basically kind of have like this executing flow. And so then you can do $box, and then controls, and I want a new control that is going to be $new, and a pause control. Sorry, pause, which is $pause. So now the game itself doesn't care what that thing is. It just knows, hey, I have you know, I have a button and a button, basically. I guess it's, well, it has a thing and a thing, which then you can, um, what's the phrase? You can then, just listen to a click handler of it, but it doesn't really care what it is. So I think the engine is going to have a click handler in it. This? Why not just window? Okay, game equals new game. Okay, and then, so now we go into our game, and we need our controls. And so then we have a start and we have a pause, which, does this really need to be exposed? I don't think it actually does need to be exposed. So we can just go start and pause. Oh, just remove that. And then pause. Cool. And then we remove that. And okay. So now we have our two controls. So now we can go controls dot new dot click. And then really all we need to do, or all we have to do, is just go start. On click start, yeah, on new click start, on pause click, so controls, pause, click, pause. Bam. So really, really simple. I'm going to go ahead and move these down to the bottom after I delete them away, apparently. Controls, new click start. Okay, and that's really that. Self board, self engine, cool. So we got the engine, we got the controls wired in. We have that. I mean, it looks like we're doing pretty good. We got a little bit of correctional stuff here. That's awesome. And then, so now I'd like to move these movements into into here. So how do we do this? How about we just do left, and that's going to be equal to 37. Right is going to be equal to 39. Down is going to be equal to 40, and we'll make a control called rotate, and that's equal to 38. Okay, so now what we can do is inside of our game we have more stuff on the controls now. So then we can do document on key down. Yeah, I guess we can do that. So we'll put that in here, I guess. Not a huge fan of it. But we'll go with it. So we can just move, essentially, let's just grab it from here. Pull that into game and document on key down, and then we switch the event, and if we have case of controls left, and now we don't need the comment because it's now self-declaring, controls right, controls left, nope, down, and controls up, or rotate. Cool. Okay, I think that's all we need. So we have done a lot of refactoring, and refactoring is good. And I think that a refactoring like this is really good because we're starting to really get to that point where we need to really work on high-level stuff. And so doing things like this where we pass in the box that it's going to be, pass in the control set, will allow us to do things like we do want a second screen, right? We want a second box, we want a second game. Can you now maybe see how simple that's going to be now? What do you want to do? What do we need to do if we want to create a second instance of the game? We really just call new game, pass in something different for the box, and pass in different controls. And now suddenly you have both. And you didn't have to do anything extra. Now you've got two instances of the engine. You've got two instances of, your boards. Everything just kind of all fits together and ties together. That all being said, I need to make sure I didn't break anything. So clearly I did. I don't know what it was. And so we're going to figure out game is not defined. Oh, I guess that makes sense because game, I never pulled that file. I created the file and I never pulled it in. When does it need to come in? I think game needs to come in next to last. So we're going to go to our index HTML and we're going to pull game in right before index. So script type, text, JavaScript, source, JS, game, close script, flip back over, refresh. Does it work? Kind of. Yeah, so we're getting some errors, we're getting some issues. We can work through a lot of this stuff. Board is not defined, cannot read property push of undefined. So we definitely have some issues. First one was board is not defined in board.js line 30. Board.blocks for each. Self.draw board.blocks for each. Board. Why does board.blocks what? Okay, I need to figure that out, and yeah, I think I'm going to do that in the next episode. But for now, that's a major refactor with going into a good design to have separation of concerns and to really make it really super simple for ourselves to create another instance somewhere on the page and start playing either against a computer or against a friend or something like that. So we will pick this up where we left off next time.